President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi asserted the importance of the 2025 Bright Star drill, being an extension to the close defense and security cooperation between Egypt and the United States. The President made these remarks in a meeting with the commander of the United States Central Command, Brad Cooper II, in the attendance of Minister of Defense and Military Production Abdel Majid Sakhr. The meeting touched on enhancing the strategic partnership in all fields, meeting the interests of the two peoples, in addition to supporting coordination on the number of regional and international issues of mutual concern. The two sides agreed on the continued efforts for restoring calm, peace and security to the region, especially among the current security challenges. The meeting in particular tackled the latest developments in Gaza, with the President stressing the significance of the mediation efforts conducted by Egypt, the United States and Qatar for reaching a ceasefire deal, releasing all the hostages and captives, and allowing the reach of humanitarian aid to the Strip.
Upon an invitation from the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took part in a virtual BRICS Leaders Extraordinary Summit.
Brazil, the current BRICS chairing country, convened the virtual meeting to discuss the defense of multilateralism. The details follow.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Monday delivered a speech at an extraordinary virtual summit of the BRICS leaders hosted by its current chairman, the Republic of Brazil. President al-Sisi said that the current economic challenges are inseparable from the mounting geopolitical tensions across the globe, calling on the bloc to deepen integration and expand the coordination in order to reform the international financial structure. The President noted that the Middle East witnessed successive crises which impacted the world's peace, security and stability and hampered sustainable development paths. He pointed out the collapsing international scene, marred by exposing double standard and flagrant violations of the international law, undermined the basis of the international peace and security and encourages the use of power as a means to impose will over other parties. Concerning the Israeli war in Gaza, the head of state warned that it is one of the most dangerous conflicts and the most evident of double standards and breaches of all international laws. He highlighted that the Israeli occupation's oppressive war on Gaza was going side by side with the occupation's blatant crimes in the West Bank, including the occupied city of Al-Quds. President al-Sisi blamed the Israeli side for killing, terrorizing and starving civilians for almost 2 years and cited expanded offensive in Gaza to force the evacuation of its people. The President renewed Egypt's firm refusing stance to any scenario aiming at the displacement of Palestinians from their land and reiterated its continued efforts for striking a ceasefire deal which allows the access of humanitarian aid to Gaza residents. Egyptian-U.S. drills of Bright Star 2025 continued on Monday. Paratroopers from a number of countries carried out the activities of free falling with flags in the historic pyramids area. The drills reflected the professionalism and harmony among the troops in the attendance of a number of Egyptian armed forces commanders and commanders of participating countries in parachute jumping. The Bright Star 2025 drills, the 19th edition of the region's largest multinational military exercise, began in late August and are set to take place in Egypt till September the 10th.
Minister of Foreign Migration and the Egyptian Expatriates Affairs, Badr Abdulati, conducted a number of phone calls with the senior Arab and Western officials.
The calls came within the framework of Egypt's keen interest in holding continued contacts with its partners on a set of regional and international issues of mutual concern. Minister of Foreign Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs Badr Abdulati and Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan on Monday expressed their absolute rejection of the continued Israeli aggression on Gaza, as well as its killing and starving of the unarmed Palestinian people. The two ministers made these remarks in a phone call on the latest developments in Gaza, which also reviewed efforts for hammering out a ceasefire deal which allows the unhindered access of humanitarian and relief aid to Palestinians in the war-torn enclave. The conversation also covered the recent dangerous Israeli settlement expansionist moves in the West Bank, being a grave violation of the international law. Meanwhile, Egypt's top diplomat discussed the Iranian nuclear file with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Chief of the International Atomic Energy Agency Rafael Grossi. The phone call came in line with the directives by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to de-escalate regional tensions and close the gaps between the different concerned parties to reach a peaceful settlement to the disputed Iranian nuclear program. Separately, Abdulati greeted his Dutch counterpart David van Wil on assuming the new post. Both top diplomats exchanged points of views on the disastrous conditions in Gaza, with Abdulati spelling out Egypt's total refusal of the Israeli continued crimes against Palestinians in the war-torn strip, which had led to an unprecedented humanitarian suffering amounting to famine, despite the existence of hundreds of aid trucks awaiting entry to Palestinians hindered by the Israeli. He called on the international community to put an end to such dangerous practices and to actively intervene to halt the ongoing war.
Foreign ministers of the Arab Islamic Committee on Gaza voiced the absolute rejection of the Israeli occupation statement on the Palestinians' evacuation from the land. They said such remarks can never be accepted under any prejudice or any name, and slammed the Israeli occupation's policies aiming at uprooting Palestinians from their territory. The diplomats cited the repeated targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure, seeking to prolong the conflict and expand its cycle, which poses a threat to the regional and the international security and peace. The ministers also denounced the Israeli occupation's illegal procedures in the West Bank, including the illegal settler attacks and expanded settlement activities, as well as the illegitimate takeover of the Palestinian territories. They called on the international community to shoulder the responsibility to protect the Palestinian people, safeguard its rights, and work on ending the illegal Israeli occupation. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that the tourism sector witnessed a notable development in the past period, pointing out to the planned increase by nearly 30% of the tourist flights over the upcoming period. The Prime Minister made these remarks as he chaired the Ministerial Tourism Committee meeting on developing the tourism sector and its relevant infrastructure, coping with the increasing touristic arrivals. The meeting tackled a number of measures recently taken to boost the tourism sector, including the efforts by the Civil Aviation Ministry to upgrade the civil aviation facilities and the infrastructure. The meeting also reviewed the survey conducted by the Housing Ministry to establish hotels nearby tourist and archaeological destinations, as well as the plans by the Culture Ministry to hold a number of artistic and cultural events attracting tourists.
Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Karim Badawi witnessed the signing of an agreement between the Egyptian Natural Gas Holding Company, EGAS, and the British company BP. Badawi asserted the importance of the deal in boosting the ministry's efforts to expand exploration and production of natural gas during the coming period. The agreement stipulates to drill 5 new gas wells in the Mediterranean Sea and developing the natural gas reserves through benefiting of the infrastructure of this area. Drilling of the 5 wells is expected to start next year.
Egypt's stock market indices fluctuated in the trading session amid selling and purchasing operations by the investors on both directions. The benchmark EGX 30 index gained 0.42% to close at 34,601.53 points. The EGX 70 index for the small and medium businesses also went up by 0.06%, while the broader EGX 100 index lost 0.07%. The market capitalization gained £6 billion to close at £2,450 billion, amid transactions of about £26.9 billion.